Brad Keselowski has joined us. He's our race winner tonight for the 4th Annual Quaker State 400 presented by Advanced Auto Parts here at Kentucky Speedway. This is Brad's second win of the season, so he's going to be competing for a championship again in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. And congratulations on that, Brad. Congratulations to your crew chief, Paul Wolfe, and all the people over at Team Penske. Second time in 3 years that you've won here at Kentucky Speedway. And like I told you here a little while ago, you always try to make a good story for us. So congratulations. Maybe talk about the win out there tonight. Certainly, as soon as you got the number 2 car out on the track yesterday and through qualifying and so forth, it was apparent that you were likely the car to beat.
Yeah, what a really fast car. You know, things just kind of came together for us really across the weekend, from qualifying to you know, race practice and then in the race. And it looked like they were going to come unraveled at the end there with that yellow right in the middle of the pit sequence, which was, you know, really scary, but kind of part of the deal. And you know, it came down to restarting 6th there with was it 50, 51, 52 to go. And I knew it was going to be a dogfight to get back to Kyle and race him, but we got there with a really fast car, and I hit the perfect run on him there with traffic, and next thing I knew, we were there. So it feels really good, obviously, to get that second win. I think we've been so close and kind of haven't put it together there at the end. You know, with Richmond comes to mind, Texas comes to mind, and then Pocono. Kind of had some heartbreakers there, and you know, it starts to wonder in your head, you know, is this ever going to work out? But you know, it did, and I think it showcased the strength of our team, and we've got a really good stretch run going here over the summer. So it's very exciting for me personally, very rewarding, and I feel like we're in such a strong spot. So a lot of momentum, and this was really a big night for us in so many ways.
Thank you, Brad. And Paul Wolfe, just talk about what it's like knowing once you get the car off the truck and get a few laps under your belt, knowing that you have a really, really strong race car and a driver certainly that can bring it home.
Yeah, well, it always makes the weekend a little bit easier once you unload and you have speed in your race car. Obviously, that's the first thing we look for, is to have speed, and we showed we had that, you know, on the first lap on the track, and we worked through a lot of things in practice, and you know, continued to show speed in both sessions and carried that over into qualifying. Sometimes when you're that good in practice, you question how much you need to change for the race, and making the right calls there to be good in the race. And obviously tonight we were able to put all that together. As hard as we work every week to try to have performances like we did tonight, they're sometimes few and far between, but you know, we'll continue to work hard to put together cars like this every weekend, and this is a type of performance we're going to need to be able to compete for another championship. So proud of all the work that's gone on so far. We're about halfway through the season now, and with the new rules package, and I feel like Team Penske's done a great job at responding to the rule changes, but there's still a lot to be learned or gained with this package. So it's important for us to continue to work hard and keep building off of this momentum as we get ready to run for another championship.
Thank you, Paul. We'll take some questions. We'll go with Jeff Gluck. We'll go to Mark Garrow, Mark Ashenfelter, then we're going to go to the press box and then come back down. Go ahead. Take three here and then one up in the press box. Go ahead.
Jeff Gluck from USA Today. Brad, right here. You immediately said right after you won that it feels like championship form again, and then I guess in victory lane you really emphasized that. I didn't see it, but what about Kentucky makes you feel that this is the vaulting point? I guess you did it 2 years ago. Why is it so important that this? What does this track show about that makes you feel like you're?
Well, I think there are a lot of mile and a half, Jeff, in the chase. Chicago, Texas, Kansas, and then obviously the final race in Homestead. I'm missing Charlotte. What else am I missing? Charlotte. I'm sure there's somewhere else, but a lot of mile and a half tracks, and this is kind of a fits all between them. it doesn't have the banking of Charlotte, but it's a little bit rough, and Charlotte's a little bit rough, and it doesn't have the smooth surface of Kansas, but it has very similar layout. So, the things it takes to go fast here aren't too far off from those other tracks. And I think when you hit this mark in the season, some cars might show a little bit more development, but not a lot. I think you pretty much get to where everyone has almost what they're going to have to finish out the year around this time. And when you can run well at this point in time in the year, it bodes well for the final half of the season. So certainly we're not content. We had a great night tonight, led a lot of laps and won the race. But the reality is that Hendrick cars had won, I think, 3 or 4 of the last 5. And they're going to continue to be the cars to beat, so we have to keep pushing as well. But this is certainly a good night, and it harks back some memories of 2012, which I'm very fond of. And last year was a very humbling year for us. So I think I probably appreciate it even more. I appreciate the opportunity to have races like this and opportunities to run for a championship.
Let's go to Mark Garrow, then Mark Ashenfelter, and then the press box.
Mark Garrow, PRN. Two-part question, Brad, and then for Paul. What was your attitude tonight? You consistently lost positions on pit road. Was it like, okay, we've got such a great car, no problem, I'm going to drive it back to the front, or was there a growing frustration about that? And for Paul, as you guys tried to round into championship form, how concerned are you that you're not always going to have a car that can make up these positions?
Yeah, that's not fun, but I think those are internal discussions that we have to get better. It doesn't really help out talking about that here, but I'm proud that we had the car that we have, and I still feel like we've made progress on pit road from where we've been in years past and even races past, but we still have work to do.
Mark Ashenfelter. Oh, I'm sorry, Paul.
Yeah, I think kind of to touch on what Brad said there, I think we look at our program as a whole and look at areas where we can be stronger, where we need to improve, and whether it's with our aero department or our chassis or the guys working on the cars, the pit crews, we look at it all, and to be able to win another championship, we'll have to be very good in all those areas, and we'll continue to evaluate and do what we need to do to be able to be good in all those areas.
Go ahead, Mark, and then we'll go to the press box next.
Mark Ashenfelter with ESPN. What was more treacherous, the front stretch bumps or victory lane?
The front stretch bumps are a concussion, and victory lane is bleeding of the hand. I guess I don't have enough to lose upstairs to worry about the first one. So the champagne, I should have stuck with beer.
We'll go to the press box. Go ahead.
Hey, Brad, kind of going back to when you stepped out of the car and talked about how you really want that second championship. You said it a couple times pretty forcefully. Obviously, that's always the goal. But kind of what was behind that statement, kind of the urgency you said it with?
I don't know. I turned 30 and I'm going through a bit of a midlife crisis. I want to win another championship. I don't want to just win one. I think I have the team to do it with Paul and the guys. I have the owner to do it with Roger Penske, and the urgency is now. I don't want to win one championship and that be it for my career. I'm not going to be happy with that, and I want to win another championship, but I don't want it to be 5 or 10 years from now. I don't want to be a guy that contends for a championship every 3 or 4 years. I want to do it each and every year, and I know that opportunity is here and it's present, and I want to make the most of it. And I'm not afraid to communicate that. I think when it comes to goals, when it comes to dreams and visions, you have to share them if you want them to become a reality. And I think my team has that same goal and that same vision. But I think we want to stay on that same page, and I want them to know that I care and that I'm focused on it.
All right, back downstairs, Jim Utter had a question, I believe. Could we get him a mic, and then Stan, and then Patrick.
Jim Utter, Charlotte Observer. First, you're not old enough to have a midlife crisis. And this is for you and Paul. And you touched on this a minute ago when you talked about you think the people who pretty much have what they're going to have for the rest of the season. I asked Joey a similar question about the qualifying, but why are you surprised that more people haven't kind of caught up at this point in time for either of you? Because it does
you mean
seem
for
like
qualifying?
Oh no,
Jim?
just in the wins and so forth. But it seems even in qualifying, it seems the people that have been good are good. The people who have struggled are struggled. Same thing on race day.
Yeah, I don't really know the reason for that, the qualifying part. I haven't really focused on that. Personally, I don't know, maybe you have, Paul, but you know, that one I'm not really sure how to give a good answer on that. But you know, the racing stuff, this point in the year, I think a lot of guys will work on their cars and come up with something, you know, a few months from now, usually around Charlotte. Everybody kind of brings out their next wave of cars, but usually from there, you know, everything kind of hits a standstill and just trying to finish out the year, whether that's financially or just because the summer stretch is so tough, you dedicate all your resources to just getting to the track and executing, and it's hard to develop. So I'm not really sure how to answer that question. Like I said, I don't feel like we're the dominant cars we wore tonight, and I feel like we're good cars with a really good team. But we have to keep pushing because, like I said, the Hendrick cars won 3 or 4 of the last 5. I can't, you know the stat better than I do. It's something like that, and that's what it's going to take to win the championship. You're going to have to get on a streak in those 10 races, and that's where we need to be. So that's where I want to push.
Let's go over here to Stan and then to Chris. Oh, I'm sorry, Paul.
Yeah, I think anytime there's a new rule change, you'll see maybe certain teams that kind of stand out until guys get caught up. And yeah, it seems like maybe there's a little more separation in the field right now, but I think over time that will continue to close up. I think that's kind of been the trend over the years as anytime there's big rule changes. And you know, as far as qualifying, it's interesting. I've gotten this question before, and I can't say that our approach to the whole qualifying is much different than what we've done in the past. I don't feel like there's any tricks or things that we're doing. I think we continue to try to have fast race cars and communicate well between sessions. I think that's the biggest thing, and understanding how we need to tune on our race cars from one to the other. But I don't think there's any magic there.
Go ahead, Stan, and then to Chris.
Stan Creekmore with RPMTonight.com. Paul,
Patrick.
this is to you. How much less stressful does a driver the quality of Brad Keselowski make your job? Because even though you have a problem on pit road tonight, he goes out there and he still pushes hard to win the race. So how much does it keep life less stressful for you?
See, how much less stressful do I make your life, Paul?
Less stressful, yeah. I think it's just the opposite. I think it's just the opposite. When you know you have the tools and resources, and then you have a driver the caliber of Brad, I think it just puts more pressure on you, and knowing that you have to perform well. And so to say that it's less pressure, I don't necessarily look at that as the case for sure.
Come on, Paul.
Let's go to Patrick, then Chris, and then back to Jeff.
Patrick Cole, NASCAR.com. Can you tell us what your first thought was when the bottle exploded and you looked down and you saw blood? And will you be tweeting a picture of the injury, kind of like your ankle?
Did they? Yeah. Sorry, I didn't have my phone on me. I'm trying to be less dependent on my phone. Yeah. So, why didn't I don't know. I've just been on it a lot, so I didn't have my phone on me. So sorry. And what was my thought? I did the typical guy thing. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. And I shook it a couple times, and there was blood flying everywhere. I thought, it's pretty bad. And then I started, kind of walking through my mind. Is this for real? So it really wasn't much more intelligent thought than that.
The real thing going around on Twitter right now is trying to figure out when the last time a NASCAR race winner wound up in victory lane, or in the care center after victory lane. So trying to figure that one out. Go ahead, Chris.
Chris Knight, NASCAR Wire Service. Brad, 5th on Thursday, 2nd last night, 1st tonight. Can you put the whole weekend as a whole collectively? Your thoughts on Kentucky?
Sounds like a good investment, you know, running the nationwide truck race. It's not. You know, I can tell you that. It's not good on the bottom line, but, you know, at the end of the day, we're here to win cup races, and that's where my main focus is. And I don't know, but I don't think there's anyone that can say I shortcut it to, you know, shortcut the big race to be better in the preliminaries, and that's probably a good thing.
When's your next truck race?
I don't know. I have to look at the schedule. Yeah.
Other questions? Jeff Gluck and then Mark Garrow.
This is on behalf of Pakras, who's watching at home on the camera. He wants to know, did the bottle actually break in your hand and it didn't hit anything? How did that happen? And do you anticipate any problems holding the steering wheel?
No, I hit it on something. I think I hit it on the corner of the podium, and then it broke. I don't know. I was trying to get the top off and shaking at the same time, and people were spraying me, and I couldn't really see all that well, so just one of them deals. And do I anticipate it? No. Last time I had stitches, it was 7 days or so, and we're going to Daytona, which is probably the easiest track you could ask for. No, I didn't break any bones or any of that stuff. I just put a big gash, so I don't think it'll be an issue.
Let's go to Mark Garrow.
Mark Garrow, PRN, for both of you. It got very pronounced this weekend, the difference in the Ford camp between you guys and Roush Fenway and then their satellite team, Richard Petty Motorsports. I mean, it was dramatic in qualifying, dramatic in the race. How big a difference is there between those two operations right now? What do you think the difference is that you guys are so much better in the Ford camp than anything Roush is putting out or Richard Petty?
Is that for me or for Paul? I don't know. It's not fair for us to really comment on the other Ford teams.
Are you surprised that there's, are you guys surprised there's that big a difference?
Quite honestly, we don't know enough about their stuff. We do what we can to make the Fords the best we can and share as we can, but it's not fair for us to pile on. And I feel like any comments to that effect would just pile on.